Hello and thank you for watching another edition of ARFCOM News. Remember that Mensa-level politician from Virginia we told you about last week who thought magazines got red hot and that you can't aim an AR-15? You didn't think we'd let an opportunity like that go to waste without ridiculing him and making a little coin off it at the same time, did you? That's right. You can get your official ARFCOM Red Hot magazine shirt on our Teespring store right now. Get yours now to show that hottie next door you're about that life. One more update from last week. Remember that totally sane and not delusional person who tried to red flag a cop? Well, I am Jack's complete lack of surprise. She's gonna get arrested. Larimer County Sheriff deputies have tried multiple times to serve a warrant on Susan Holmes, the woman who claimed in an ERPO petition to have a child with the cop who shot her son. They even made her Larimer County's most wanted. An odd side note to this is that KUSA, the Denver NBC affiliate, is reporting that the image LCSO used in their wanted poster belongs to a local paper called The Coloradoan and was used without permission. This whole case is just a ball of weird, and it illustrates how obviously awful red flag bills are. Of course, that doesn't stop New Jersey from diving face first into that dumpster fire, though. Over 200 ERPOs have been filed in Jersey in the last 5 months, and only 25 were denied by a judge. That's more than one person every day who has had their property seized by the state. Now, I'm sure some of them are bad people, or maybe good people going through a rough spot and legitimately need help. But considering we weren't seeing 400 massacres a year in New Jersey before the red flag bill, it seems fair to say that maybe not all these people were actually going to shoot up a crowd. That point is supported by the fact that out of those 200 filings, only 88 resulted in a final order after the person had a chance to respond to the accusations. So let's think about that. 200 petitions were filed, judges only threw out 25 outright, and less than half ultimately stuck. That means the overwhelming majority are complete bantha fodder. If only there were some law, some supreme law that protected people from being deprived of property without due process of law. Maybe even worse than the violation of their rights is the fact that the state is so bad at it. I mean, if you insist on playing out your cut-rate Minority Report fantasies, could you at least attempt to get it right? Kicking off the news for this week, apparently there was some sort of athletic competition on Sunday that Americans were all legally obligated to watch. During this contest, advertisements for President Trump and third-place Democrat candidate Michael Bloomberg were played. The Wall Street Journal reported that social media reactions to the Trump ad were mostly positive, while the reactions to Bloomberg's ad were overwhelmingly negative. Now, given that Bloomberg generally polls a little more favorably than Trump, what could account for the difference? Well, it's because Bloomberg's ad was mostly just a transparently emotional appeal for gun control. Bloomberg's campaign is more than a little troubling for gun owners because while there aren't exactly any 2A advocates on the field for the DNC nomination, Bloomberg is arguably the most vehemently anti-gun. He has a history of using his vast wealth to reduce access to arms for people less privileged than he is. And it seems the mainstream media is just absolutely head over heels smitten with him. They haven't even bothered to conceal their attempts to give his late game candidacy the boost he needs to break into first place. I guess they all got together one day and decided that Bloomberg had the best chance to beat Trump. Now, I'm not convinced that forcing the American people to choose between a tall rich guy and a short rich guy equals guaranteed success, but we'll see. In the meantime, Bloomberg is continuing his self-funded crusade against human rights, whether or not he manages to win the primary. The Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms reports that Bloomberg's puppet organization, Everytown, will be spending $60 million pushing anti-rights politicians, particularly in Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Wisconsin. CCRKBA Chairman Alan Gottlieb points out that Virginia was just a test for Bloomberg's buying power. He fully intends to use his vast wealth to suppress the rights of ordinary folks in every place he considers vulnerable. Now, I know I've been covering Bloomberg a lot lately, but he has his fingers in everything. You really can't talk about gun control without mentioning Bloomberg, which invites the question, how much control should a single man have over our political process? Another politician who is right at the top of the bell curve, Republican Representative Steve Handy out of Utah, is once again trying to pass a red flag bill in his state. Some people juggle geese. This man tries and fails to pass oppressive Orwellian wrong-think legislation every year. Judging by the posts on his Facebook page, it doesn't seem that his constituents are fond of his attempts. Handy didn't respond to my request for an interview, so I'll just have to ask my questions into empty air. I have a feeling I'll get the same answers anyway. Mr. Handy, doesn't Utah already have a legal mechanism that allows dangerous people to be apprehended and assessed?
You've no idea how excruciating it is to see the Commonwealth in such a state.
Are you concerned that simply taking some of the guns from a dangerous person might further enrage them and prompt them to recover hidden weapons or buy guns off the black market, or maybe just select an entirely other means of killing?
Go for the juggler.
If someone really is a threat, why would we want to leave them free and just hope they didn't hide guns in the woods?
Yes, well, isn't this all very exciting?
Finally, I hesitate to ask this as the answer seems somewhat self-evident, but aren't you concerned about the potential for abuse when the state can assume guilt and require the accused to prove innocence?
Never better. And might I reiterate, it's an honor to be chosen to accompany you throughout the Commonwealth.
Representative Handy, all joking aside, I would be grateful for the opportunity to discuss this with you. If you are able to address my concerns and can find the time for a quick phone call, please email me at chopandblock@ar15.com to schedule a time. We've been watching events unfold in Virginia over the last few weeks with a mixture of horrified interest and righteous anger. Now, the Virginia House has passed 7 authoritarian control freak bills in flagrant disregard for the Constitution, human rights, and the guillotine erected by their constituents. No matter how you feel about gun control, you gotta hand it to them for their audacity. These 7 bills would dictate how guns are stored, impose a backdoor registration, repeal state preemption, impose a limit of only 1 pistol per month, and manufacture a legal way for the state to seize property from the accused without due process, colloquially referred to as a red flag law. 5 of the bills will likely be reconciled with their respective state versions, while others will face a fight in the Senate. And there are a lot more anti-rights bills still in committee. Folks, I know we all want to see closure on this stuff, but it isn't over. Virginia is a political knife fight, and it's going to be that way for a while. Win or lose, it's going to be a long fight. Don't give up. What you're doing is important, and it'll be worth it in the end. But Virginia isn't the only state on the front lines fighting for individual rights. The New York Senate is considering a bill that would require anyone who wishes to publish print, audio, or video materials on the internet to submit to a mental health evaluation. Just kidding, no. Democrat James Sanders sponsored S7065 to compel people to get a Psych Eval to buy a gun. Any gun, anytime. Even if you're buying a gun from a relative, you'll still have to go see an unaccountable agent of the state and attempt to prove how not crazy you are before being allowed by the state to buy a gun. See, this is why you should never have let that camel's nose into the tent in the first place, New York. You never should have given the state the authority to decide whether a man can buy a gun. I almost hope this bill passes just to watch how hard it would get dunked on in court. Although it's normally legal to carry in church in Florida, a technicality was preventing worshipers from being armed if the campus was attached to a school, even on days when school wasn't in session. Some shootings in places of worship over the last few months brought more attention to this issue, so Florida is now considering a bill that would correct it. HB 1437 has been approved by the House Criminal Justice Subcommittee. Politicians are also looking out for number 1, though, as they consider a bill to make themselves a little more equal than the rest of us. HB 183 would create an exemption for politicians to the prohibition on carrying weapons in public meetings. Now, I believe that no man should be prevented from carrying arms. Just because a politician takes an oath of office doesn't mean their life should be forfeit. They have every right to be armed that normal people do. But they don't have more right to be safe either. If they weren't cowards, they would lift the ban on weapons entirely, or they would comply with it themselves. Not to legitimize violence, but I can't help noticing that they might not have to worry if they focused on things everybody agrees on, like making roads, instead of trying to pick a fight. I'm just saying, there is so much important work that we should be doing that everybody can agree on, that it's insane to get all wrapped around the axle fighting over stuff that makes people want to hurt other people. So, what do we do about it? Short answer, we vote the bums out. Slightly longer answer, first we yell at them, then we vote the bums out. Are you a fighter? Are you willing to get out in the street and carry a sign and meet with politicians to make sure they know where you stand? For too long, we've mailed off checks to organizations that pretend to fight and get nothing done without spending much time activisming. Every successful movement puts feet in the street to show solidarity. I got my text from moms in your area looking for action, accusing all of us of being racists. They're getting their folks out there. Are you going to brood on your couch catching up on shot videos, or are you going to put your feet on the ground? Here's some events you can attend soon to make a difference. And if I don't see you at one of them, I'm going to know about you. 2A rallies at the state capitals in Utah on February 8th and Arizona on the 15th. Monroe County, Wisconsin is having a 2A sanctuary discussion on February 12th at 6 p.m. at Jake's Northwoods Restaurant in Sparta, Wisconsin. Kevin Dixie of No Other Choice Training will host a Black Guns Matter in St. Louis, March 22nd. If you haven't heard of Black Guns Matter, it's a nonprofit that introduces inner city people to gun rights, firearm safety, and proper gun handling. I can't tell you how important it is to me that new people learn about their fundamental human rights and seize their right to self-determination. This is the most powerful and effective action you can take to ensure the future of civil rights in the U.S. So look up Black Guns Matter and consider donating. If you'd like to get the word out about your own 2A event, please leave a comment below. Thank you, everyone, for all the hard work you've been doing to fight for gun rights over the last few months. You guys are absolute pipe hitters. Keep up the solid work. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you feel like I earned it, please give the video a like. If you don't think I earned it, please tell us why. Not because I'm any good at change, but because comments improve engagement metrics. Thanks for watching.